Welcome back in, everyone. Let's dive right into the deep end. The FBI Seattle is giving people an inside look at what exactly happens inside the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Those community opportunities stem from the Citizens Academy and the Teen Academy program. Steve is down in the ARC Lounge right now with Gregory Austin, the acting special agent in charge at FBI Seattle. Steve?
Good morning. Yeah, so nice to have you in.
Thank you.
This is fascinating. You and I were just talking about how cool of an opportunity this is for people to sort of go behind the scenes of what an agency like the FBI does. Why do you guys do these academies? Is it just to sort of generate interest and hopefully it'll lead to, you know, a career, as an example for some of those teenagers? Why do them?
Yeah, that's part of it. I think the interest is largely there. These are, in the case of Teen Academy, which we just did about a month ago, these are a few dozen students who have probably never even met an FBI employee before. So their conception of the FBI is fully informed by movies and TV, which is just not accurate, right? So we give them that peek behind the curtain of what the FBI's mission and people are actually like, which they find is a little bit different than what their perception is.
So are you saying the movies aren't necessarily an accurate portrayal of what you guys do?
Not necessarily entirely accurate.
Darn it.
Yes.
Looks so fascinating.
Yeah.
But I know the work is. But so if people go through one of these academies, what types of things do they learn? What are they going to do?
I think the biggest thing is they learn more about the mission and our people. Okay. So for the mission, I think there's some violations that everybody understands the FBI works, like counterterrorism, for example, but they learn a lot more nuance about all of our violations, from public corruption to cyber to crimes against children. In some cases, these violations apply to potentially them or their friends or family, like in the case of Teen Academy, crimes against children and some of the child exploitation matters really resonate with them. And they learn a lot more about the people behind the FBI. I think the movies and TVs emphasize the agents, the traditional agents working criminal violations, but they learn about everybody in roles from data scientists to intelligence analysts as well.
You and I were also talking in the commercial break about some of the feedback that you get, you know, in particular with the Teen Academy. What sort of things do you hear once they've gone through that academy? What's the feedback like for that?
The funniest piece of feedback we received this year is that FBI employers are much nicer than they expected, which meant a lot to us. That validation helps. But I think learning about the people is the most surprising thing to them because it differs so much from their what they conceived of at the time that they started.
And you kind of touched on this, but is that one of the things that you hope that they take away from it as well, is, you know, watching some of those movies or TV shows that might have agents portrayed in them, that sort of thing? This is what life is like on a day-to-day basis for us in real time, and what it really is like.
That's exactly right, because we realize that they understand that we do recruit for FBI agents, and there are a lot of people working traditional criminal violations, and a lot of those things that you see in TV and the movies, but we're also looking for all sorts of young people to fill roles. Like I said a moment ago, it may range from a very technical role like a computer scientist to an intelligence analyst role, and educate them about those opportunities as well.
And so many fascinating opportunities too.
Yes.
It's not just, you know, an agent, that's
No, it's a really, really unique job. And we talked a little bit about what that lifestyle looks like, and the opportunity as an FBI employee, agent or non-agent, the opportunity to work 1 year in Seattle and then maybe do a temporary assignment in Paris or Tokyo or London, working any sort of violation across not just the country but the world. There's not a lot of agencies that offer that opportunity.
Absolutely. I imagine that as we're talking, this is going to generate some interest from some kids that might be interested in being part of the academy. When do the applications open for 2025?
So for 2025, it won't be until summer of 2025. But so the Teen Academy, we publicize it on FBI Seattle's social media sites. We do have Citizens Academy for adults. They will be starting in the spring. Those applications will open in January, and we'll have a few dozen people from throughout the state of Washington join us for an approximately 7-week session in the evenings.
And what do people learn if they go through that academy?
It's pretty similar. It's a little bit more in depth. So we'll do a deeper dive into our various violations. And so they will tend to get a couple hours block on each of the major violations that FBI Seattle works, ranging from counterintelligence to counterterrorism, public corruption, healthcare fraud, crimes against children, sessions like this. They'll also get a peek at some of the tactical capabilities that we have, like our SWAT program, our evidence response program, and specialty areas like that.
Can you give us some insight on how the participants are selected?
They are either nominated by others or they self-nominate.
Oh, they do? Okay.
We're especially interested in folks who don't. I think one of the misconceptions around Citizens Academy and even Teen Academy is that we're looking for people who are naturally close to law enforcement or the FBI. We're certainly looking to connect with people who may have had no, not just FBI exposure, but lacking any law enforcement exposure as well.
I know that, and as we're talking, I'm sort of thinking about, you know, how the FBI is one of those agencies that we don't really have a lot of insight to, which obviously these academies are helping with that. But why do you think that connection with outreach is so important for the FBI and to continue that work?
Because the most important thing for the FBI, for its mission, is connections with people. It may sound cliched, but when you think about it, from subjects to victims to witnesses to sources, if we're not connecting with people, in the case of FBI Seattle, with the people of the state of Washington, if they don't understand the mission, if they don't understand what criminal violations look like, then whether they're a victim or a witness or in a position to assist law enforcement or anything like that, then they're not able to help us accomplish our mission, which is protecting the American people and upholding the Constitution.
Yeah, you guys do some really important work.
Thank you.
And thank you for giving us some insight on that, and obviously talking about some really cool opportunities for the public and teens to learn more about it. Tyra, pretty cool, huh?
So cool, Steve. I want an inside look.
I do too.
Right? Thank you so much. Thanks for coming into the ARC Lounge.